How's it going? Alright. So, I don't know, I feel like you're telling scary stories. Earth Hour, if you don't know, is this alright? Is this awkward me holding the flashlight like this?
Looks like,
yeah,
looks like the crazy guy in Lovely Bones.
I'll take Sandy Tucci. I don't know. Drew kind of looks like Sandy Tucci. So Earth Hour, for those of you who don't know, it's 1 hour, 8:30 to 9:30 every year that people who observe it shut off all their lights to preserve energy or make a statement about preservation of energy. So we're doing that tonight. There's a lot of candles, and it's so warm up here. Are you guys going first things first, thanks for sticking around through the intermission. I'm going to have Jim come up and say a little bit about Second Story and what they do. And then I'll come back up and be annoying and introduce the next couple of readers. So here's Jim.
Before I start to talk about these things up here, this is a preview of our next show in the gallery that opens on Friday, April 1st. And Big Car is releasing its first album as a collective. And this is by the band called Beat the Breed. And they are kind of a rock band that's sort of pop meets Velvet Underground and Neil Young, that kind of stuff. So what happened is several of the people who contributed are here in the room right now, but we all sort of chipped in and designed the cover, or created the covers. So there's original artwork on these, and there's a whole box of them. And I think we're selling them for, what do we say, Tom? 15, 18 bucks, something like that?
Well, it's sort of special.
Right. So that's what the deal is with this. And then Second Story is a nonprofit, another nonprofit that's like this sort of sister nonprofit of Big Car. And what Second Story does is works with kids in schools and on creative writing. And we are working in 5 different locations in the city right now and are expanding every year to add more of these kinds of programs. So that's what Second Story is. It's a nonprofit organization. It's been around a few years, working to have kids connect with creative writing and poetry in particular, and find that something that they enjoy. And we think that'll help them a lot later in life to help bring them to places like this when they're adults, or not even adults when they're kids. So that's it. Thank you.
So yeah, Second Story. That's what this whole Vouched Presents thing is. Another one of the things that it's going to start supporting. And there are little carafes over there if you feel inclined to give to the cause. And like I said, if you buy a book tonight, $1 from any book purchase goes to Second Story tonight. Oh gosh, it's so warm up here. You're gonna like this.
It's okay, I'm anemic, so you.
Good. The next reader tonight is the one who's talking right now. Ashley Ford. The best part about Ashley is that she thought that I was an asshole when we first met. We both went to Ball State, and I was leaving as she was kind of coming in, and we had mutual friends. And I guess they were like, Christopher Ridge is really cool, you're gonna like him a lot. And then we hung out at some shindig, and I didn't know at the time. I thought we got along swimmingly. And then I went up to Muncie for a reading just last month, and she admitted to me. She was like, "You're kind of. I thought you sucked as a human being." So that's Ashley Ford, everybody. So.
Oh, sorry. I don't know what's good.
Can I Here's assistance to you.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're a sweetheart.
Oh,
Yeah, well, my name's Ashley Ford. I don't know. I feel kind of weird because all these people are like, you know, hey, check out my book. And I'm like, I wrote some stuff. And also for some lit mags, which is a very reason. But I mean, I don't know. It's okay, I guess. If you guys, I contribute to Vouched Online, which the last time I hung out with, not last time, but the time I hung out with Chris when I realized he was cool. And then he came to me later and was like, hey, you should contribute to Vouched. And I was like, really? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, sweet, I'll do that. And my friend Tyler was already doing it. Tyler, who's a fantastic writer who I look up to a crazy amount, which, by the way, they're trying to go to this Slash Pine Festival in Alabama, and they're raising money for that. So you guys should really look into that. They need $1,000, and they've already raised $900. So if you guys would be interested, I know that they do have a chapbook over there that you can purchase that will help them get closer to that goal. If you just want to do that to a personal favor, as a personal favor to me, that would be sweet because you guys owe me. So yeah. So the first thing I'm going to read here is a story I wrote not so long ago for the Vouched chapbook, which is actually, it's not for sale, though, is it, guys? It's just
it's $1 or free with purchase.
Oh, $1 or free with purchase.
So if you bought tonight and didn't get one, you can come get one.
Yeah, and these are pretty great. They Amber Sparks, myself, Laura Relier, Chris Nugent, and Roxanne Gay, who I have a sick obsession with. Yeah, you guys should pick one up. And it actually is kind of warm up here even for me, which is crazy. But this first one is called The Opposite of Air. Grandpa's fingers were separating the edible parts of a frog. The frog was only kind of dead. His fingers bent and popped its sinewy limbs, separating the body from its parts. The nearly departed performed a table marionette's dance for me, wasting its breathless performance on a child who had not yet learned to appreciate nuance. The kitchen walls were old smokers' teeth. Age and abuse made them sweat yellow. I did my best to ignore a small splashing sound coming from an old bucket next to the refrigerator. Don't trust them boys out there, little girl. They ain't worth shit and they don't know shit. Grandpa spat the words onto a stunned frog's half-open body. If it had been more alive, I wouldn't have been certain he was speaking to me. This was the beginning of another story to get hung up inside me. It would dry against my ribs, something else I couldn't repeat. I knew things about Grandpa. I knew he used to hit my grandmother and she used to hit him right back. I knew I wasn't to talk about that. If I closed my eyes when he spoke, I saw my grandmother wielding a cast iron skillet in one hand, a pot of boiling water in the other. He rocks away from the water and is bludgeoned by 8 pounds of Kevlar weaponry. These stories made me sad the way a woman is sad, only after knowing nothing can be done to make things good again. She'd knock me on my ass, then yell at me for making too much noise. Splash. The bucket turned over, feeding the floor a small flood of lake water and a live catfish. The water raced toward dirt-filled crannies, cleaning places that caught what no one else could reach. We watched the catfish struggle for air, or the opposite of air, spastically flipping from side to side, end to end. When it stopped moving, gills still fluttering, Grandpa picked it up with both hands, sat it in front of me. I wasn't no good. Men, we ain't really no good. He bent the fish into itself until there was an audible pop. I continued to hear a phantom splash. I was angry with my grandfather the way a learned child is angry. These animals had ears, had eyes, and as far as I knew, ears. Why did I have to listen? Grandpa broke and ate everything that might love him. I didn't want to learn to do the same. I was gutting a fish like a man, and it was another thing I had to know. Knowing was a thread stitching you to a moment. I would always know how to gut a catfish in a frog's grave. I was sewn into his regrets. I would always be angry about this. When he laced his fingers and turned his elbows out, ready to release tension and air built up between his knuckles, I covered my ears, begged him, please don't. I was closer to tipping over all the time, and anything that spilled out of me wouldn't be able to breathe out. When I was done, I so rude, and I didn't realize I was even chewing it until I started reading. So, I'm going. All right.
That's been your sister for like 40 years.
It's a myth. I saw it on Bill Nye the Science Guy. This next story is called The Bodies of Men. Mama is going to knock the water out of your eyes if she sees this. My brother sat, knees to chin, folded into the corner of my walk-in closet. The muscles in his arms struggled against the inexpensive and supple fabric holding the sleeves of my hippie Halloween costume together. His well-built jaw harassed the seamless curves of the garment's round neckline. There was never enough space for his overtly masculine body between the threads of my fragile wardrobe. He stood when he knew it was only us, unruffling himself from the closet floor. He struck his head on the exposed light bulb on the ceiling. Water balloons full of tapioca pudding were bosoms mashed between his solid chest and crushed velvet seams. She doesn't get home until 4:30. He began removing the dress too quickly to be careful. I knew Mama was still working. Thought maybe I should tell him so he didn't rip my costume. Not like I would be getting another one. Hey man, be careful with that. Slowly. Help me get it off then. The waist was caught at his shoulders. I slipped my fingers between the cloth and his skin, gingerly tugged it over his head, unsure which fragile thing I was protecting. The pudding breasts fell to the floor. They did not break. Standing there in the middle of my room, he wore his Hanes and my tights. There are men who would have broken the bodies they had to look like him. I still get angry at such a lean body belonging to such a shiftless man. I rolled the wrinkle-free fabric into a ball and threw it onto my bed. My brother draped himself alongside my pink and purple comforter, stroked the imitation embroidery with his skyscraping fingers. This time of day was his time, when the coach wasn't asking when he was going to try out, when the teacher wasn't asking what he was thinking about instead of her lecture, when Mama wasn't asking why he didn't have a girlfriend, all A's, or why he couldn't be more like me. Ashley doesn't have to stay after school for no damn tutoring, so why do you? Ashley could probably hook you up with some of those cute girls she hangs out with. Where the hell is my eyeliner? She found everything that had gone missing in his room and never asked why. The eyeliner, the heels, the silk scarf she wore to church, breadcrumbs my brother left behind. Mama followed, refusing to pick them up along the way. I watched his brow furrow, his eyes shadow, knowing his time in the day was done. This hour when he got to feel fully clothed was ending. I wondered if he contemplated staying right there, lifeless until she saw him, forcing her to look, to know her humiliation was his livelihood. I leaned in close, gathered his shoulders in my hands. He was getting closer to broken every day, and I was without the tools or maturity to be of any real assistance. Just a sister, a big sister, whatever that implies, with too little understanding and too many pudding stains in her carpet. I wish I was as pretty as you, I said. I love you. I tried to make him hear me, to believe what I said. He reached down and ripped a hole in the tights. Don't. This last thing that I'm going to read here is a poem, but what it consists of basically is I have this guy that I'm friends with on Facebook, and I am friends with him solely because he has these extremely hostile status updates that are directed toward no one. Like, he'll just say like the craziest like shit, and he just says these things, and everybody is always like, you know, you always have somebody who comments and like, who are you talking about, man? You know, and he'll just be like, everybody, you know, like he's just angry, and I love that. Like, I don't know, like I'm not really good at getting angry, so when somebody is constantly angry, I like to think that maybe they stole some of mine, and that's why I don't have it, and so I just got some back. I'm just borrowing it, but he goes by Bear, like that's what people call him, which I guess is fitting, because I don't know, black and dangerous. So, like a bear, if it's a black bear. So, yeah, here it is. And it's called Bear. That's the name of the poem. When you're trying to do right, they knock. I ain't finished college, but I still got 2 whips. If I ain't have one friend on here, I still would post status. Bitches act like they too good for me. A lot of niggas want to rob me. A lot of niggas hate me. If I die tonight, I'm happy how my life turned out. Pack. I'ma keep that shit 100. If I died tonight, that half the people wouldn't even come to my funeral. Hell yeah, I wish I was somebody else. Most bitches won't fuck with me because I'm big. Hell yeah, I want to erase my page, because this shit is for the birds. My life ain't fake or sour. Niggas see me living. Pack. You can't laugh. I never lie on my status. My shit is real. People feel my fucking pain. The realest nigga in this fucking city. Yeah, it might be some nigga out here more gangster, but shout out to my fucking self.